All right, and hopefully we are back. So let me just confirm, just refresh Twitch a couple times. Make sure we're broadcasting again. Okay, yeah, perfect. This is looking good. So welcome back, everyone. For those of you who stayed on from our previous session, we've gotten a lot of requests, especially around how to take a spreadsheet into Honeycode. And so we wanted to take a few minutes today to address those. So Daniel, let me turn it over to you now.
Yeah, you're a big spreadsheet user, right, Murray?
Huge, yeah.
So tell us about how was your transition? How did you make the mind shift?
Yeah, actually, thanks for asking. It was very smooth. What I found from the beginning is the interface is very similar to what I was used to. So, cells and columns, that's my language. That's my happy place. So I was glad to find that in Honeycode. And then I found that because I was so familiar, especially with like the Excel syntax, that Honeycode, the way that formulas in Honeycode work was very similar, and so really easy for me to learn. And in fact, I found that Honeycode has some real power behind it that I was sometimes missing, or I would need to write more complex formulas or workarounds in Excel, but Honeycode simplified a lot of that. I know you'll cover it today, so I won't go on right now, but yeah, otherwise, real smooth transition from my experience.
Yeah, I found one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the VLOOKUP and the filter.
Big time.
Yeah,
right.
I was never a big fan of VLOOKUP because it's so arcane and the references you have to do. I found the Honeycode a lot more expressive, a lot easier to write queries, basically.
Sure.
I don't know if you found the same.
Yeah, especially since VLOOKUP breaks, and so the way that Honeycode does it, in my mind, prevents a lot of these errors that I would sometimes get with my VLOOKUPs.
Right. So I don't know if I told you, did I ever tell you my theory that there's three kinds of people in the world? There is Microsoft Word people, there's Microsoft PowerPoint people, and there's Microsoft Excel people. Which one are you?
Oh, Excel all the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Even for simple things like taking notes, I'll open up a spreadsheet.
Wow, you're dedicated if you do it in a spreadsheet.
The addiction is real.
Right. Yeah, I found this out. My daughter, I gave her some copy and paste exercise one time, and I said, "Hey, just copy these rows into an Excel spreadsheet." And about halfway through, she's like, "Dad, please never ever make me use this bloody program, this blasted, but what is expletive here, ever again?" And I had a manager one time that wanted to see things in a matrix kind of way. I'm like, aha, you must be the Excel type of person.
That's an Excel person. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So enough fun. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I think, as you know, there's a lot of concepts. If you're going to publish a whole app out there and you're going to support a whole application and you're going to support a whole bunch of users and you're going to be a citizen developer or a business user that's now taking on the mantle of running an application and enabling a process, kudos to you. And I think you're doing great if there's somebody out there doing that. And we're here to help enable you in doing that. And that's what all these videos are about. And today we're going to talk about how do you go from a spreadsheet to Honeycode? How do you make that mental transition? And what are some of the pitfalls that we've seen people fall into frequently when they make this transition, so we can help easier transitions. And so next time or in subsequent videos, we'll talk about how to build apps and how to think about building designing apps with a clean, consistent user experience, how to build automations, and we'll have a whole bunch of recommendations. But today we're just going to focus on the data part of it because it's so simple. This sometimes almost feels like deceitfully or deceptively simple because it looks so similar. But there's a few concepts that I think if you get, you'll just go go really far in Honeycode.
Absolutely.
I think the first thing that I'd like to point out, and I don't know if this was a big change for you, it was very much a relief for me because I come more from the coding point of view, and I like labels and names for things. I was not a big fan of B3 and D7 because they don't mean anything to me. Like audience type means a lot more to me. So that's one of the big distinctions. Otherwise, they look and feel very similar. If you're using Excel, numbers, Google Sheets, or any other, Lotus 1, 2, 3, right? They're all spreadsheets. They all behave very much the same.
Sure.
Let's actually see something side by side how that works, right? So I have here's my Excel spreadsheet. This is of some album data. We keep using this because it's easy enough. So here's some album data, right? And let's say I want to make this one appear in Honeycode. I'm going to go here to my demo workbook number 2, and I apologize, there's some scratch tables in here. But if I wanted to create a new table, I could simply copy and paste. So Control or Command Shift V, paste that in, and boom. Now you can hardly tell the difference in what you're between the two. The one nice thing is the other distinction that I think is very important to get used to right away is that Honeycode makes references and pick lists extremely easy. Right? Here's how I can make this work type here a pick list. I click on the wizard. I say create a data modeling, create a pick list. Now it's very generous here, and it tries to give me a lot of suggestions.
Even recognizes, what could be a pick list. That's great.
Right. And I'm just going to be a little bit more specific here. I just want this in table 2, and I want you to pick just the work type column. Thank you very much. And making a new table, and say apply, and then say go. So now we have table 2, and here's what happened. It created table 2 work types, and obviously we've done this a couple more times before. But here's the work types. And I don't know if you could make pivots any simpler, but boom, here's how many albums you have. Right, here's how many songs you have. It automatically does that for you.
Oh, this is great.
Right. I love pivots in Excel, for example. And I was reading about pivots. It turns out that pivots were actually introduced by Lotus 1 to 3 when Steve Jobs decided to partner with Lotus Notes and build a separate spreadsheet for the next computer. That's when they added the pivot tables. But the actual pivot table word was introduced by Microsoft when they brought in Excel. So it's kind of a fun read if you have nothing better to do on a
very interesting. Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? How similar they are. So we covered. I covered the Control Shift. The other ways to get data in are to do an import and to import into an existing table. So let me show you that really quick. That's part of the table stakes here, right? We've already imported a table here, but let's say I want to import again. I want to import in this table again. Now let's say I'll have a modified version of this file, or I can import the same file or a modified version. And voila. And now I should have twice as many records here. Not only that, but notice how it also did this lookup for me.
Oh, this is great. Yeah, automatically recognized that this was a pick list.
Right, exactly. So very, very handy import. Not just import once, but you can import multiple times. And we've covered in a different video how to deal with this importing twice problem. This is not a problem that's particular to Honeycode. This happens in any spreadsheet program that you have. If you import, it's additive. We have a pattern called upsert that we did a video earlier today about, and you can follow that to see how to work around that. Right, so we've covered how easy it is, how similar it is, how table stakes with copy and paste are there. The functions are very, very similar. So we'll take, we're going to make a new table here. So let's say we create a new table. And give me some numbers between 1 and 10. I don't know.
All right, 7.
Okay, 7. Again.
6.
6.
3.
3. And 1.
1.
1. Okay. So I'm going to pick, 7, 7, 7, 7. And if you watch Friends, you know that that's a joke. It's a latent.
7.
What's that?
In Friends?
Yeah, there's an episode where Monica and Chandler are getting married, and they go to a friend of theirs, and this lady has a whole album organized with the wedding plans and everything, and Monica says, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, almost like she's having a small orgasm, right?
Wow.
Right, with the number 7. So
I totally forgot about that.
it's random things that come up. But let's say you wanted to concatenate. And this is what we're talking about. Instead of using, B2, B3, you just say concatenate column 2 and column 3 and comma column 4. So this should look very familiar if you're using a spreadsheet program. Whoops!
Yeah, of course.
I managed to make an error.
Parentheses.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, still an error. Score, Daniel. What did I do? I love it when this breaks on live TV.
In real time.
Okay, let's try that again. Okay, wow. I managed to break it. How do I do that? Okay, well, we're going to column 2, comma, column 3. Don't you love it when it always breaks into a demo?
It's the best. There's no other way to do it.
Right, just doing it live.
There you are.
So there's concatenate, or if you want to do...
if you want to add like a dash, like a character.
A little dash of salt here, or a dash of something, something here. Oops. I'm being a little silly with my... There we go.
Nice.
Bingo. Right? You can also use math. Let's say you want to say column equals to column 2. Why am I not typing all the way? Column 2 plus column 3 divided by column 4. Bingo.
Nice.
Right? Or if you wanted to do, let's come up with some new numbers here, like 1, 2, 3, whatever. If you want to do sum, this behaves the same way.
Nice.
Bingo. So not only that, but notice how this is very, very similar to
absolutely
something you'd use in Excel, even the colons and everything else in between. So that's pretty fantastic.
That's right.
So if you're familiar with Excel, go to town. In fact, come to our if you come to our community forum here. If you come to our community forum and you search for what are we searching for? For functions, right?
Functions.
Yeah, this should look very familiar if you've ever used a reference of one of the other spreadsheet programs. All the functions are listed here.
Nice.
Hundreds of them by alphabet. And you can dive deep into some of them. I'm going to cover filter a little bit because it's a very powerful function, but it does require just a little bit of getting used to it. All right, so we've seen all the functions.
Yep.
So let's talk about filter. I don't know, what did you think about filter?
Yeah, I'm glad you're covering it. It also, I had to go into the community forum and go through the article about it. But once I understood its power, I just find it super helpful, and so it's one of my go-tos as well. It just makes retrieving information so much easier.
Yeah, I find that it's a lot more expressive in terms of
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Call, like if you had B3 instead of owner, like who knows what B3 is, right? You have to keep all that in mind.
Sure.
Much easier to just say, hey, give me the owner of the tasks. And so, but it does have 3 different sections. And I was on a call with a coworker and walking her through the filter syntax. So I'm hoping that this makes it easier to follow. So you do have to remember that there's 3 parts to filter syntax: the table, the condition, and the parameters to a condition. And the parameters here are in bracket, not to be confused with cell brackets, but this indicates that these are optional. So basically the condition parameters are optional. You don't have to put them in there. So that's what the green part is.
Makes sense.
And so I usually say, please retrieve, what you're saying here is, please retrieve from the table tasks, all the tasks where the owner is something or something else, and X and Y. So either Adam or Mary. And so you think of these percents as algebra and like variables in algebra.
Are you going to make me do math in public here?
I'm sorry. We did have to go there, but that's it. That's it. No more math. That's it. That's the only. That's the
that I can
extent of it.
handle.
Okay, that's it. So yeah, if you think of these percents as variables, it makes life easier. And there is a couple of different ways. You'll see there's ways to put functions right inside, but I find that sticking with this percent nomenclature makes it consistent and avoids me getting confused when I read my own filters later. Yeah. So yeah, just think of this as basic, variable or parameter substitution. Just takes the first parameter, goes into the first placeholder, the second variable in the second placeholder, and on and on and on and on, however many you have. It also shows that you can put in these buckets, you can also put in functions like, hey, give me this row, or you could use dates, or you could use instead of equal, you can use greater than, less than. You can use between this date and that date. So you can do all those kind of things with filters. So they're super powerful and they're expressive. So that's what I love about them.
Nice.
So
can we?
Let's actually, sorry.
Yeah. Can we see it live?
Yeah, let's actually see one, because by default, right, we were using table 2, so I'll stay honest here. Notice how table 2, when it creates this pivot table, it actually uses a filter function here. So it searches from table 2 wherever work type equals to this row, and this row means this particular row, aka album.
Sure.
So this will essentially give me all the records. So let's just call this one records by work type. Should be more, okay. Type records. So that's it, right? But now if I wanted to, what I could do is I could go even farther. I can say, show me all the records that I have for kids. So I would make another column here. I would copy this. And notice how this row is inside here. Yeah, and that's fine. That works too. This is my recommended way to do it, is to put it out. Whoa, not that much. Is to put it outside, because that way, if you just stay consistent with that, it's easier to not get confused.
Makes sense.
It does the exact same thing, and you just apply that formula to the whole column.
Oh, this is great.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so then I go here. Let's call this one records for kids, and I paste it in. And well, okay, fine. That's 2, and some are more equal than others. And then let's say table 2, and we want to look for audience type equals to percent, and we're going to add it because it's number 2, so we're going to add it afterwards here. Equals kids, and bingo.
Oh, very nice.
And we're going to apply that to the whole thing.
Yep.
And it also, the spreadsheet version of Honeycode here, when you click on this filter, it not only shows you the number, but it also shows you the things that are of type album and audience type equal kids, or of type song and audience kids.
Nice.
So, right. Now,
Oh, this is great. Very powerful.
right, really powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that happens oftentimes that we find is people using um, filters is that they behave in 4 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've already showed these two, right? That they behave like they show you the number. So if a filter is placed in a if a filter is placed inside of a cell or inside of a variable, of a single variable on a screen, then it will show you the number. Like, hey, I found 2 rows or I found 7 rows. It's probably best to wrap the word rows around it, so it actually gives you a row count rather than just leaving it raw like that.
Makes sense.
And then you also, if you're using filter in a list, in a table, like when you click on the table cell, or when you use it in a list object on the screen, it will actually return back the full list of all the rows. So those are the 2 ways it behaves. But you can also use it. You can also use it to extract a certain column out
Mm-hmm.
of the rows that you found. Like, say
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to find the amount and you wanted to sum all the amounts together, you could do that. Or you could use it in a comparison to say, hey, how many rows did you find? Did you find one less than 1 row? Less than 1 row is 0, so it means you found no rows. So you could use it as a Boolean comparison as well.
Oh, this is, yeah.
So let me show
Nice.
you this one here. The number 3 here, right? Because let's say we go into table 2, and we have length, right? The length of songs and the length of the albums.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, for the sake of discussion here, we're just going to put the number, I don't know, put the number 4 in place. I'm going to avoid number 7 again because
We'll say
and
everything is 4 minutes.
right, exactly. Let's just drop that in, right? And so now the length of a song and the length of an album is 4 minutes. Let's actually just, because we know, let's say this is 44 minutes, 44 minutes, 44 minutes for the albums, just, make it more realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now, in my summary, in my work type summary here, and I can not only see whatever is for kids, but I can come back and say, let's call this one playtime. By playtime, I mean duration. So we're going to take all the records here. So this is going to sum up across all the 8 records. We're going to take the length from table 2. And it's not going to like that because it's going to say, hey, which one of the 8 do you want? Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
But if we put it into a aggregator function like this, bingo. So now it's
Nice.
192 minutes. And then if we apply it, there you go. So we have 248 minutes worth of songs, but only 192 minutes worth of albums. So I don't know. Maybe that's useful.
Or it could be a great way, like a great checksum, just to see, obviously, all these songs are part of all these albums. And because there's a difference, that really quickly surfaces the fact that your data is not right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is obviously it's very contrived here, but that's actually very, very good use case where where you could use some of these summaries to do checksums and to do tests and to do checks yourself pretty powerfully.
Oh, makes sense. Cool. Oh, this is awesome.
So yeah, I think it's useful to remember these 4 different uses,
right?
Because this is very powerful. It's so much easier than VLOOKUP. I actually went in yesterday and checked, do we even support VLOOKUP? And yes, we do. So if you really are married to VLOOKUP, you can go use it. But like you pointed out, you've never gone back and used it. I have never gone back and used it because filter is so powerful.
Yeah, no, this was a really great overview. Anything else? Oh, yes, that's right. The wizards.
Yeah, so really quick, I think we covered the pick list one as well, but maybe I can jump in on show you the summary table a little bit more, the wizard for that. It's very similar to, produces something very similar to this, but let's say I'm on the table 2 here, and I use the wizards, and I'm going to create a summarize table. And I want to summarize by, let's say by territory and by What shall we pick? I don't know, by audience type, let's say. So how many children, how many adult songs and records do we have in which territory?
Sure.
And so this will also, creates an automation that will update this. So whenever you add a row to this table, it will go and refresh the summary table. So this will create this table. So this is how you create a pivot deliberately.
Oh,
so
wow.
here it says, here's in BR, I guess that's Brazil. There's only one adult song. In Canada, there's only one. I guess these are Florida, Finland. So anyways, whatever these territories are, it automatically creates the records that, for example, here have territory US and the audience type is everyone. So these kind of pivots are so easy. In fact, I would say easier than some spreadsheet programs I've used.
I like that pop-up display view as well, because again, like Excel, you have to like double click on the pivot table cell, then it creates a separate sheet with the table. This is real easy to see. This is nice.
Right. So those are the wizards. I definitely recommend spending time with at least these two wizards. There's a couple more in there for notifications and whatnot, but these I use every day.
Awesome.
And here's a couple, and then we can talk about some issues that we find. Maybe do we have some more time?
We have a few minutes left. Yeah.
Why is somebody from Inverness calling me? I don't understand. Okay. So yeah, one of the issues that we find oftentimes people get, speaking of PowerPoint people, right? PowerPoint people usually want to create a PowerPoint and just communicate something amazing, but they forget to take the time. I'm kind of a PowerPoint person, so I identify with this. You're like, let's make a beautiful presentation, and you forget that you actually need content to make a beautiful, compelling presentation. And so oftentimes it happens with building as well. People get very excited and they make an application and they share it very quickly, and then they realize, wait a minute, I have to change the whole thing, all the presses, and then you kind of have to go back. So I don't know if you've encountered this or not, but I've seen this several times where you go too far in building.
No, for sure. And this is something helpful. Like we obviously don't have time to dive deeper into this, but perhaps a great topic for a future video is talk about the working backwards process that Amazon is using for its entire product development. This entire process is the reason behind many of Amazon successful products. You work back from the customer, you define the requirements up front, and then you continue to work back from this. And we've applied this model to the building of Honeycode application. And we found that taking this approach, upfront and really thinking about who your customer is for this application, defining their requirements and working back from that really sets you up for success rather than diving into the building right away.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that, you have to get an idea of what am I trying to build. I think is useful. In our original presentations, we have this as a kind of a straight, like do step one, finish step two.
Sure.
And I don't think that's quite right. I've watched myself and I've watched other people when we build, and we spend a lot of time bouncing back and forth between 2 and 3. Because you don't know if this needs to be a pick list. There's a many-to-many table. Where do I add the table? Where do I add the columns? So I think it's really useful to kind of work on 2 and 3 together. Like you build a screen, like, okay, that looks right. That's kind of how I want to present it. And I think if you bounce back and forth between 2 and 3, you do exactly what you said, Amari, which is you are saying, what are my customers going to experience? Right? Build the user experience. That's what they're going to experience. And you work backwards and you make your data model fit that. And you work through that struggle of, here's the data I got. How do I make it fit what the customer needs? So this back and forth, just adding this little arrow here back really helped me be a lot more comfortable with this, kind of what looks like a very waterfall model otherwise. And it really matches what I think you pointed out about the working backwards. But yes, basically stay in this process until you finish your data model is solid. Like you've got all your tables clean, you've got them narrow enough, you've got all the relationships built, and you've got some sample screens, then I think you can, you may even have to add an automation or two, like we showed in the previous example about dealing with duplicates. But then you start to include some people, test and share with them. So I think that's a very good model, and especially if you spend a bunch of time here in 2, 3, and maybe even 4. But 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, just keep repeating those.
Oh, this is great. This was awesome, Daniel. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off here.
Time?
We are unfortunately just about out of time, and I wanted to give a few minutes for our colleagues who are coming right after us on the Twitch channel, time for them to get set up and jump onto the stream. So thank you very much for your time today. Thank you everyone for joining us. I put the link to our workshop series, so go take a look at it if you want to look at other episodes that we've done. And of course, we'll be back here 1 p.m. Pacific next week, next Wednesday, for another episode where we'll talk about managing multiple teams. All right. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Amari. Ciao.